Good afternoon, everyone. We're so happy to be back here in the ICM for this year and to see beautiful faces we miss from a year to another. Today, I'm so glad I'm having these great panelists with me to talk about a certain topic that we always discuss internally between production houses, between writers, between journalists and directors, which is the docuseries. Where are we going in terms of docuseries? What does the landscape looks alike today? So with my fellow panelists, we're going to discuss this topic and we'll be open for sure for your questions. So good evening for the third time, actually. I've done the introduction for so many times. So we'll start directly with the questions. I want to ask the four of you basically, when we talk about docuseries, we're not talking about documentaries. It's a standalone production where we have certain assets and identification that people don't know about. So I would love to know from you firstly, what are the assets of a script, or what are the main assets that make a script a good candidate for docuseries? Ladies first.
I think I'm going to start. He looked at me like...
No, I said ladies first.
Okay, I should correct something because he started with an introduction about me working in acquisition, and that's not right. I think this was a typo.
Yeah, so you are your managing director and co-founder of Whitbee Media.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much. And working in docuseries, it's very enjoyable, of course, and it's quite different from working in documentaries. So basically in documentaries, we base ourselves on facts, factual events, and we go through the story according to these factual events. However, in the docuseries, it's totally different now with the VODs and with the streaming platforms that we're seeing. There is a quite big demand on creating this kind of storytelling that could be merged between drama and a little bit of suspense and sometimes investigation. And it's according to the need, of course, of the platform itself. So the crafting of the story itself and how the stakes of the story actually go and flow until eventually the going into the midpoint and to finalize, it is quite a journey. And it is where we follow the journey of the main characters throughout the whole project.
Ihab.
Thank you for the opportunity. To be honest, it's more pragmatic to produce docuseries. If I'm a broadcaster, I would not really be invested in acquiring a one-time or 1 hour episode unless the topic is really amazing. So when it comes to docuseries, it makes it more sellable. It works better with the linear televisions in terms of scheduling and programming and that sort of stuff. And it's more profitable for the production houses, to be honest.
Of course. Fabio, from a different perspective, what makes for you a script being a candidate for a docuseries?
Hi there. So yeah, I'll be bringing more of the distribution side, the business side of the factual business. I work for Fifth Season, which is a major studio, both in terms of scripted, and we also have a big factual offering. And in terms of specifically docuseries, I think what we often look for is a very unique and engaging story, but that doesn't feel too local, that really has that international appeal. And, it could be a story that's already known to people, but it can also, of course, just be a story that's completely unknown, in which case you do have to tell it for the very first time to people. In terms of the difference between, multi-episodes or the one-off, I think it really sort of depends on who you're selling it to. I find that linear channels actually have one slot to fill in, and so they often look more for a standalone documentary, or if it is a two-parter, they can sort of schedule it one after the other. But absolutely right, in terms of SVOD platforms, they're more in the game of numbers and having those hooks and twists and cliffhangers to sort of keep the viewer over for 3, 4, 5, and sometimes 6 episodes.
So today, basically, we're talking about budgets, about sales, and we're talking also about the creative side. So we're covering the whole aspect of docuseries. Sultan, if I might jump to another question with you, and to start with you talking about the creative freedom versus the factual integrity in docuseries. Where can we push our limits and be so creative, and where we have to respect some lines, some traits of the stories, some characters that might be relatable or related to the reality?
Thank you, Michel. And I think the docuseries is based on creativity, and creativity is very important to make a docuseries. But honesty is even more important for the audience. You can use editing, music, visuals to make your project more interesting for the audience. But you should keep it real, and avoid any changes from the story, the main story. And my message to all filmmakers is the audience today is smart, and they can know if there is something fake in the story.
To my content advocate, Madonna, to my fellow colleague in content advocacy.
Actually, I don't share all of his views, with all due respect, of course, because eventually in the docuseries we're seeing a lot of scripted in a big chunk, if not all of it, basically. So the drama is created, and we've seen it in US when they did the docuseries. We've seen it here, and I feel it's kind of working. And some of the audience, let's say most of the audience, that they're keen on docuseries. They like this type of content. They want to chase the buzz and that cheesy type of content and these kind of situations that are overreactive. And this is where eventually I feel like this genre, it took some kind of part of the cheese, in the last few years. So it has its own clients, it has a base, and I think it's gonna keep growing.
I see you're not satisfied about one side of the story, which is the cheesy side of docuseries. You can elaborate, actually.
No, honestly, it's not a structural issue. It's not a cultural issue. It's a structural issue. The whole acquisition or production of documentaries in the region, it comes from a budgetary point of view, one. Two, it also addresses the content that we have the freedom to work with. Most of our broadcasters are public. They have limitations in terms of political, cultural, and social. This is where the limitations we have. So, and the budgetary restraints also put some limitations on whether it's better for you to produce a game show or a talk show and put it on the screen, or acquire a Turkish drama and put it on a daily time slot, or send the money towards a documentary that's considered educational and that sort of stuff.
Niche audience oriented.
That's the thing. Documentary is not niche. We consider it as niche because of these limitations that we are facing. If you see the foreign programming or foreign platforms, documentary has a permanent slot on each and every channel or platform. They have tons of titles circulating all year round. They have lots of money being invested in this. And you can compare the documentary making in terms of budget, apple to apple, with the Western, simply because using the same material, research, equipment, and that sort of stuff. However, we pay 1/5 of what they are paying in North America. So again, it's somehow structural, not cultural, the limitation we are facing.
I listened to Fabio's answer because you come from a territory where there's no limitations at the extent that we know in the Arab world. So from the factual integrity and the creative freedom, what, if I may ask you, what sells more in terms of docuseries?
So I think at the heart of all documentaries and docuseries, you need facts and truth. But then you kind of have to ask yourself, the question is, how can a viewer escape reality whilst watching reality? And that is where sort of all those creative licenses come in, but it's more in terms of, you're right, the editing or the music, the dramatization, the cliffhangers at the end of every episode, also the casting. You want to make sure that all the interviewers are the right people, like you're really sort of creating a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I think it's no surprise that when you go into Prime or on Netflix, docuseries and scripted series all sit on the same line, and the top line, because this is sort of where now those docuseries sit, and you need to essentially entertain your viewer in addition to obviously feeding them facts. So I will say the sort of series, docuseries that we pick up, we produce or deficit finance or distribute, tend to have dramatization, tend to lean into the music and those cliffhangers. But at the heart of it, it's truth, facts, almost journalism, and a deep dive into this true story. And with that, I'm talking about like true crime, these sort of...
Yeah, we're going to discuss
series.
like basically what are the trending genres in docuseries. But the main question that we discussed previously in our first meeting was the blurred lines between docuseries and other genres, such as action, tragedy, etc. Do you think, this is a question for all of you, do you think that this asset of blurred lines or blurred borders between genres is helping docuseries evolution in the Arab world?
I think I would answer that because I was linking your question as well with what Ihab said, and I feel like he has a point according to the budget itself and how it's allocated, and how we're most of the time the remaining of the budget or what we don't really need, it goes to documentaries or docuseries, which shouldn't be the case eventually, because it's one of the tent poles as every other project, whether it was drama series or film or etc. So saying this, I feel like more into say the last point.
The blurred lines between different genres.
So the blurred line between the genres is eventually, it could get more blurred if we treated that from the budget perspective. You know, if we give this budget, but if we said like they deserve the same budget as all others, eventually we're treating it as a tentpole as all others.
From a creative perspective.
From a creative perspective, it's totally different, because always is the lowest budget in any other project if you compare it.
Michel, to be more pragmatic, honestly, when we are pitching or creating the concept, we don't do blur lines. So we try as much as we can to come up with a concept that we can convince the commissioner with. However, the sale we make with the documentary is by far harder than the entertainment type. So that's why if it's not coupled with a political agenda or a political purpose or a social purpose that falls in line with the strategy of the government or whatever, we have a very hard sale. It's not about the association with the drama itself, and that's also, there are lots of political issues related to the production of the documentary that doesn't exist with the game show. That's one of the hardships that we face.
Fabio, do you have anything to add?
I mean, listen, at fifth season, so we're predominantly a drama-led studio, scripted series. I mean, for those who don't know fifth season, we're the producers and the studio behind Severance, for instance, on Apple TV, or feature films like Nonas, which was for Netflix, which has Vince Vaughn in it. And, you know, in addition, we also have a very strong factual offering, which is an integral part of our catalog, to have a full-fledged, varied, and dynamic studio, I mean, obviously, we try to stay factual, stays at facts. There are some elements, as you say, of dramatization, but they are two very distinct categories, both in terms of license fees when you sell, but also in terms of investment when you produce them. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Sultan, you'd add anything? Okay. I'll ask you something basically, which is more related to because we're shifting from what we have spoken before regarding the narrative structure of a docuseries. What makes it like really appealing for digital platforms nowadays with the short formats that we have online? What makes a script or a docuseries that much appealing to be a short form content?
That's a tough one, simply because our experience in creating documentaries is very small for social media platforms. We're dealing more or less with the platforms like Netflix and that sort, and the linear channels. So with the rise of this whole influencers wave, I don't think that we can create such. Probably Blinks have a good experience on that front because they are producing. It's not short documentaries; they are short reports. They are more skewed on the
long-length
news.
report, actually.
Yeah. Huh?
Long-length report.
Yeah, you can say that, but they fall under the journalistic, investigative kind of reporting rather than the documentary style. Like
Madonna, coming from a background of journalism, investigative work, how do you see producing short-form docuseries nowadays?
I'm really seeing the work of the BBC and Al Jazeera recently, and I'm really liking that. And I like that they have their own platforms now and they're showcasing their work. I think this is a market that's pretty much growing now, and following the trend and following the how the generations are changing. Eventually, this is a need that's coming on the arena. So whether we like it or not, we're going to accept it and adopt it and eventually get trained on it and move on with it. So I think it is kind of essential now to see this type, and it's working very, very well, and we have very good examples about that. So yeah, it's really good experience until now.
You have anything in the pipeline for a short docuseries?
It's a limited series, actually. Limited docuseries.
Okay, how many episodes?
4.
You're not going to talk about the
And
topic,
that's
right? And
That's it.
As my Ihab says also, whenever I ask him, do you have anything? Yes, we have a project, 20 episodes, and we stop there. So I guess Fabio can discuss with us more about these things. How do you see the evolution of short-form production for docuseries?
So when you say short form, like how short are we talking?
We're talking about short form.
Like short episode length?
Yeah, short episode length.
I mean, it's interesting. I was at MIPCOM, like I'm sure many of you were in October, and well, listen, on the scripted side, so many people were talking about micro drama. So, which to be honest, I had heard of, but I mean, it hadn't become such a predominant conversation yet. So, I mean, listen, I think we are adapting with the times, you're right. Like people's attention spans, I mean, not ours, but maybe the younger generations are getting shorter and shorter. So you kind of have to cater to that. So whether it's on the, factual side or actually also on the scripted side, it seems like it's a huge, massive business already. We're not in it yet as a production and distribution company, but I mean, it's definitely there.
Would you cater platforms and this type of content for the next 10 years? Would you consider this?
Absolutely. I think we always try to stay at the forefront of what's in and cool. And so I mean, I never say never, but I don't think there's any plans as of today.
Okay. If I'll move to you, Sultan, I would love to talk about binge watching, this culture that we have in the Arab world or elsewhere in the world also, between docuseries and series, because you have been working on several series and you've been participating in documentaries and docuseries. Who has the highest viewer retention, and what about the evolution of the binge-watching culture of docuseries and documentaries?
Now the docuseries are as exciting as the drama, the normal drama, but they are real. And I think if you have a good story, the people will love to watch real people facing real actions told in a cinematic way. I think the people will love and will watch this kind of docuseries like the drama.
Madonna, I'll move to you talking about series and docuseries. Do you personally, as someone who works in this field, binge watch more docuseries or documentaries?
Documentary.
Why?
I'm somebody who favors documentaries because, as you said, I come from a long time ago. I started my career in journalism and investigative journalism, and I always I'm leaning toward that. However, as I said, the trend now is docuseries, but the documentaries, for example, I've seen a beautiful documentary, Sugarcane, and most probably most of you have seen it. It was nominated to the Academy Award this year. It is beautifully crafted. I love the essence of the documentary itself and how we present the facts, preserving the facts as they are while we put them in a context that we can give it to the audience in the best way possible, or the best way the director can see it. So the docuseries definitely it's something I'm loving to delve into it more and more. Documentaries is my cup of tea.
Ihab and Fabio, why do you think nowadays the serialized storytelling is still taking over documentaries? Although we're going to talk about Jasur in the upcoming minutes, but why do you think that serialized storytelling is taking over documentaries?
That's human nature. They love cliffhangers.
They love drama.
Yeah, people love drama. So whatever you do, when you leave them on a cliffhanger, they definitely return to you on the second episode and third episode and so on. So this linear drama that you can create, whether you're doing a documentary or something else, will definitely help and satisfy the commissioner and the viewer as well.
And the producers also.
Well, it depends.
Why are you pushing yourself outside the game?
Yeah. It becomes, when I was at school, they asked us, is television an art form? And in a big aspect of it, yes, it is. Script writing is an art form. The creativity that you do, the graphics with the music and that sort of stuff, it's not a complete industrial pipeline. It has lots of creativity. And this is where we are responsible for. So yes, we have joy in producing the shows that we work on.
I would like to add just one point concerning the docuseries. It's also the structure itself of the docuseries that makes it very tempting. And because it has the aspect of being bingeable, in addition to that, if we're talking about marketing and sales and advertising, it's much easier to advertise and to market the docuseries where there is some drama and some kind of scenes that are heated or whatsoever. So eventually it is becoming an aspect because of these, and the structure itself, it helps to boost that type.
I know that you'll start your answer with a script itself is not enough, right? You're gonna say it now.
No. I do agree with that. I mean, I was also going to say that, the reach of factual programming in itself has gone so far beyond what it used to be. Even when I grew up, I remember, back in the day when I was a child, watching a documentary was like, oh, my mom wants to watch a documentary. Now, today, it is pure entertainment, and it is done specifically in that way. I will still stress that, platforms, whether it's SVOD, AVOD, FreeVOD, will like multiple bingeable episodes. I do still stand by the fact that linear channels, it's a bit more complicated to schedule and to maybe put 2 episodes and then expect your viewer to come back 2 days or 3 days later to watch the rest. So sometimes, even for us at 5th season, we'll have different versions of the same title, maybe a 3-4-parter versus a 1.5 standalone, to sort of again cater everybody. But yeah, I mean these series are just like very well made and bingeable because they do have cliffhangers and twists and turns and hooks, and it's the beauty of how you make series. I think we all know someone in our circle who like always just at a dinner party like tells a story really badly, and just like even though the story must be fascinating, they just like miss the beat and doesn't finish it off right and focus on the wrong detail. And so no, a good story in itself isn't good enough. You also have to be able to tell it well.
If I would like to ask you all and start with Sultan, basically, how do docuseries and documentaries transcend borders and language barriers?
I think the story is the real story, real story, strong story is can go around the world with your story if you have a very good story.
I think it transcends barriers, as you said, because eventually the suffering of any culture in this world is relative to others. So being relatable, for example, in suffer or in misery or in war or in even joy or happy moments, it is something common between all human beings. And that what makes each story that's touching, that is coming from a true fact, and eventually putting beautifully and crafted beautifully as a script and framing it nicely as a picture. Eventually, this is what let these stories transcend and let you feel you are in the shoes of this character, because you feel like you felt this one time and you identify with it. And I think this is what makes it very strong.
You, Ihab.
I'll tell you, reality TV shows are somehow a twisted documentary, you can say. Simply, they have all the components of a documentary, but in a constructed way. Yes, documentaries are enjoyable, but it all depends on the genre itself, to be honest. If you like history, you'll watch any type of historical documentaries that's talking about the Arab-Israeli conflict, the history of Saudi Arabia, and that sort of stuff. If you are interested in cooking, you are interested in watching documentaries about local dishes of local villages in south of Egypt, let's say. So it's all related around the content that you are providing, and this will make it go across borders or stay local. If you are tackling an investigative reporting about a certain political issue that's happening in Lebanon, let's say, that will remain local. No one is interested in knowing what this manager did and that sort of stuff. So it all goes back to the content.
Fabio.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Again, in terms of, and I will just speak broadly about international distribution, something that I mentioned when we started, is that a story that is too local, you're right, often doesn't travel that well, despite how interesting and moving it can be. So really, it has to have that international appeal that when you watch something, you can, as you said, Madonna, like really relate to it one way or another. But those stories can come from anywhere. I mean, we're currently out to market with a true crime docuseries called Death Cap, which is an Australian story about this fascinating story about Karen Patterson, who killed her in-laws essentially by feeding them beef Wellington, which had poisonous mushrooms in it. It kind of became like a story internationally, and so it already broke barriers and frontiers just because of this insane nature of the story. But again, you watch it, and the relatability of it means that you think to yourself, like, oh my God, this could be my ex-wife, or it could be my in-laws. Like, there needs to be that relatability, and I think that's what's fascinating about factual programming. When we talk about the blurred lines between scripted and factual, at the end of the day, factual is real people. So there's already that sort of human link, which kind of leads it sometimes into a bit of a morbid thing where you watch those, again, true crime docuseries as if it's entertainment, and you almost forget that actually that's like the real lives of people. But again, when you talk about like history or tech or, you know, different nature docuseries, then those sort of do cross barriers. You're absolutely right. As I mentioned before, when it's a slot that you're trying to to fill in, you want history, you want planes that change the world documentary, then that will just like, that's worldwide.
I have to add one thing here, that yes, we can create documentaries that can cross borders. However, we don't finance these documentaries. So when we are commissioned to produce something that's purely local or political, don't tell me that why it didn't cross borders, because that's the directions that we're working on. So in order to do this, we have to have probably a broader vision of how we are producing and what kind of content we are producing. Besides, the television or the commissioners also has to think of broader perspective to the documentaries they are producing as well. So it starts from here.
So I want to add about this. Like, you're basically talking about the limitations, and but eventually I didn't see anyone like providing kind of solutions, or at least like a space where we can, you know, meet in the middle somewhere. Maybe a co-production, for example, for docuseries and documentaries, and see where these stories intersect. Since we're talking about like it's a human nature, so it's here, New Zealand, Australia, or whoever.
So when we're trying to pitch with the highest success rates of shows. So that's the thing. So we don't waste our time and produce or on pitching a documentary that we know that it won't sell. That's the problem. The good thing now is that we're seeing the rise of the platforms in the region, that you can do a one-time documentary, or they have a broader vision of what they want on their platform, which widens the choice for us, the producers.
Fabio, talking about platforms and docuseries and documentaries, I would like to ask you, what are the assets of distribution for a docuseries, one? And two, which is the most important question, is there a shelf life for a docuseries or documentary? Is there an expiry date for platforms? Or it's a long-living thing, it's an evergreen content? What do you think?
Yes and no. I mean, again, if you're going with a political docuseries or documentary, that can age quite quickly. If even you're looking at a biopic, you know, David Beckham, Victoria Beckham on Netflix, this also will age quite quickly. Same thing with a true crime. You're sort of trying to create a water cooler moment where everybody's going to talk about it the next day at the office, but then that kind of fades quite quickly. I think it peaks and then kind of goes. But then it's such a wide spectrum of genres within the docuseries world. Then you are looking about nature or history or technology, and well, actually maybe not technology, but at least history, nature. These can and will be evergreen. In our case, you know, in terms of distribution, yes, I mean, you know, there are still many windowing opportunities with any documentary or docuseries, but you do find, just, you know, even just for me personally, watching something, you know, you kind of like, it becomes big for a week or two and then people kind of move on to the next. But we look at projects generally with the thought that it has longevity. Maybe not evergreen, but longevity.
I think the platforms, the streaming platforms change everything. they give the filmmakers the freedom to make new format of shows, projects, and to tell the story maybe in different ways. And I think if you have a really good story that can continue for more than one season, I think you have a very big opportunity to work with the platforms. Yes.
We're still talking about platforms, we're still talking about the human side of the story. But for me, there's a main question that we're sometimes afraid of it. The AI immersive formats and the AI intervention, will this affect the production and ideation of docuseries? Because I know that in a way, AI is affecting the production of actual tragedy, drama, comedy, etc. I know that you're staring at me. This is not appealing for you. I'm so sorry. I know this very well.
No, actually, I would like to intervene in that. AI is affecting everything. It's not only here, and docuseries and documentaries. It's affecting everything. Even if it's affecting how now we're thinking about brainstorming itself, how we start the idea, how we gather the team to actually talk about the idea and see where it goes. So it is actually drafting with us throughout the way. And I think this is normal eventually.
It will affect the ideation for you, or it might affect the final outcome that you might be working on.
No, I think it is eventually how I see it. At least I am the pilot, and the AI could be a co-pilot next to us. However, you never put the AI as a pilot. And this is where you take a stake, basically, you know. So you're directing that tool. However, that tool is actually intervening in every step of the way. And I think most of other experiences are like that, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a double-edged knife.
Are you the enemy of AI?
No, I'm not.
You're an
I'm not
advocate?
at all. We should adapt with the technology. I hate seeing AI taking place of real people doing real jobs. We would be against this at all. However, we need to learn how to use AI in a way that benefit our business rather than limit our cost. So this is where your conscience as a producer comes and plays first. Whether you want to lay off employees simply because you want to cut costs and make more money, or you want to use it in a smart way to enhance your work, to enhance your production. I'm with the first one, of course. Yeah, not the cutting. Forget first or second.
Not cutting
not cutting jobs. Yeah, exactly.
This is not you, actually. You've been surviving for so many crises.
Yeah, exactly.
Within media, from the TV, then shifting to digital, and now with the AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fabio, how are platforms dealing now with AI assets in terms of distribution, in terms of audience behavior, psychology, needs, etc.?
I mean, to be honest, fifth season, obviously, you know, it's the artists and the talent and the people that are at the core of fifth season's success. So I will speak on behalf of fifth season to say that whilst obviously we're kind of like keeping an eye on what's going on with AI, it will never ever be at the expense of the artists and the talent and the people that have built this company and industry. So as of today, it's not really something we're playing around with at all.
Okay. Sultan, I'll tackle the AI with you in a different perspective because I know that you're working around an AI-based production, not only post-production company, or it's a production journey actually with the AI. What can you say about this, and how can you evaluate the AI integration with our content production, post-production?
I think the AI is and the technology in general will help the filmmakers, the producers, the creatives to tell the stories, not to be the story, the AI itself. And I think there is very good ideas or very good opportunities for employees to work with the AI, teach them themselves about the AI and the new technology to be part of the new way of the production around the world.
Okay, for Ihab and Fabio, before we sum up our discussion, what makes a documentary or a docuseries an award-winning project?
My favorite documentary that we've produced, that was back in 1996.
We were all young,
Yeah,
just to emphasize on.
yeah. It was a collection of 5 short segments that were revolved around the massacre of Qana in Beirut, in Lebanon. It was so humane, the segments. It won the Cairo Film Festival award at the time. It wasn't structured in the way you think a documentary would be structured. Didn't have an end, a start and an end, and a linear drama line and that sort of stuff. It was simple 5 segments full of emotions that made everyone who watched it cry their tears out. That was the best documentary that I think that can reach the human soul, that can rise emotions and that sort of stuff. That's my emotional pick for whatever makes our documentaries like. However, going back to the real world of how to produce a documentary, I don't think one has the magic answer for this, to be honestly. So again, sometimes you'll have a great idea that you think it will make a very great documentary. It will flip, it will flop, it will not work. And sometimes the other thing works. You think it's a mediocre idea, it will have, it will do well. So I'm not sure anyone has the magic.
The secret blend, actually.
Yeah.
Fabio,
Sadly, I don't have.
you don't have a secret blend.
I don't have the secret ingredients either. But I mean, it would have something that's sort of no, but something that sort of breaks boundaries and frontiers, as we talked about. Just beautiful storytelling, emotions. But yeah, no. If I knew the actual ingredients, I would happily share them. But I don't.
I don't have the secret potion as well, definitely. However, I feel like one thing that could be all great documentaries share is authenticity, mainly. And whenever a project or a documentary or a docuseries is very authentic and it gets into the heart, this is where you feel like it's a winning project. And I know that a lot of people, they think we need to tick boxes and the checklist and stuff, but I think this element in specific is something in common between
Being
all.
genuine and authentic for you.
Yeah, the story should be authentic, and the characters itself, you should feel like you are living their perspective, their POV. Once the viewer or the audience feel that means you captured that user, whether it was big screen, small screen, or whatever.
It is the real story. Yeah.
It's the story that matters. My last question before opening up for audience questions. If we want to talk about the future, the near future of docuseries, basically, how do you see it? How do you evaluate it? And do you think there is a chance for hyper-localized storytelling? I'll start with you, Madonna.
I prefer to hear them first.
Okay.
The future of documentary, I think we have a better success rate these days in producing documentaries because of the rise of the platforms. We are somehow deviating away a little bit from linear, or at least not deviating. We have another option now, which makes it more plausible for us to come up with new ideas that might be greenlit for production, because we're deviating from the handicap that we faced earlier. Yes, it will remain as a unique genre, unfortunately, not produced that much, but the numbers will increase in the near future, hopefully.
I mean, for us, it's a growing business year on year, our factual offering. So I think sky's the limit. Again, I think more and more people are watching them. I think more of them are, being commissioned locally as well. I think it's part of every channel's strategy to have local docuseries and documentaries about local issues. And as far as distribution, same thing. I think people consume now a docuseries as much or as well as they would normal scripted series. So at the end of the day, they kind of sit alongside now. And as far as fifth season, having a whole strand of factual programming offering is really part of our strategy and our future.
Scheduling this session after the microdrama is very wrong. You know what? Simply because we're talking about an old format that doesn't make a lot of money.
It's not an old format, actually.
No, I mean, not an old format, one of the oldest
It's an evergreen thing.
So,
basically, we're going to defend...
so new microdrama is very good, guys.
For you have to defend TV shows basically for linear also. I have to defend TV shows for linear. Madonna has to defend TV series for long form. So everyone has a topic to be an advocate for. Sultan, before listening to Madonna's answer, I just want to take your intervention here and talk about Saudi Arabia's market towards docuseries. Where do we stand nowadays?
I think there is many opportunities in the Saudi market for different kind of projects like TV series, movies, documentaries, docuseries, and especially because there is a very big about there is many stories, there is many concepts. The audience want to watch, and I think also around the world they want to listen more or
to see more about Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
And I believe you guys have a lot of stories to say, but you're still searching for the right assets, right? As you were the producer of Jusur, you know more than me in terms of stories for Saudis around the world also.
Yeah, it was a very good series, and briefly, we produced 3 seasons of it. It was the stories of successful Saudis outside of Saudi Arabia. The last season we were privileged in producing this because it aligned with a political desire, not
Which is
aligned.
also the Vision 2030.
Yes, exactly. So it wasn't on a pure commercial decision. So the last season we filmed in 9 states in the US, 4 provinces in Canada. It took us to Tokyo, Japan, Korea, and 5 or 6 European countries. So we are proud of it. It had the drama elements because we used lots of reenactment. We had 4 directors working on it. We had one in Europe, one in Saudi Arabia, and one in North America, and one in post-production. So this is what made it different from producing a single documentary. It had the structure of a bigger production. So it wasn't like someone with a creative concept that came up with one idea and followed it up, filmed it on his own, and that
was a huge work. Madonna, the last word is for you.
Yeah, so the hyperlocal stories, I think they're going to keep leaning toward taking the center stage eventually. As I mentioned before, authenticity is very important in that aspect. But I'm always having this kind of hope. We are MENA region who we speak like more than 10 to 15 dialects that are different, who have different nuances, different ideas, different religions, etc. So our cultures all together, it's like really full of stories, full of history. It could be full of war and destruction, but also it has lots of hope and lots of beautiful things that could be actually captured and eventually transcended to the next generations. And this is what I think we hope to see. This is where we feel like, okay, this is how we can let somebody like Fabio or others to see our differences and to see how diverse we are. Thank you.
I guess we all enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all our panelists, Sultan, Fabio, Madonna, and Ihab. And see you next year. Thank you so much.